This is Radio Nepal. I am Dela Prasai with the news, the headlines first. Elections for new president scheduled on 9th of March and for vice president on 17th of March. U.S. Under Secretary of State for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland pays courtesy call on Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda and political leadership. U.S. government announces to invest over $1 billion in Nepal over next 5 years. And bombing at a mosque in Pakistani city of Peshawar kills at least 59 people. Now the news in detail. The Election Commission has published the election schedules for the new president and the vice president. The Election Commission decided to hold the election of the president on the coming 9th of March, followed by the vice president's election on the 17th of March. According to Election Commission spokesperson Shaligram Sharma Paudel, the elections would be held at the Federal Parliament building. Members in the Federal Parliament and Province Assembly in 7 provinces are voters for the elections. As per the election programs, the voters' name list for the presidential election will be published on the 22nd of February and the candidacy nominations will be registered on the 25th of February. Similarly, the program to register the candidacy nomination for the election of the vice president has been set on the 11th of March. Under Secretary of State for Political Affairs from the United States of America, Victoria Nuland paid a courtesy call on Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda. The Prime Minister's Secretariat said during the meeting held at the Prime Minister's official residence in Balwatar yesterday, matters relating to bilateral interest were discussed. On the occasion, Prime Minister Dahal applauded the U.S. government for its contributions to the development endeavours in Nepal. Likewise, the U.S. Under-Secretary paid a courtesy call on Minister for Foreign Affairs Bimala Rai Paudel at her office in Singh Durbar yesterday. On the occasion, both sides discussed various matters of mutual interest in bilateral and multilateral cooperation. Yesterday itself, Leader Nuland held high-level political meetings with Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Deuba and CPN-UML Chairman KP Sharma Oli. It is reported that the meetings were focused on the matters relating to bilateral interests and other contemporary issues. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has announced to invest over $1 billion in Nepal over the next 5 years. U.S. Under-Secretary for Political Affairs Nuland said the U.S. government would invest in Nepal's green energy, electrification and businesses led by women and underrepresented communities. Kaushal Gimiri brings more in this report.
The U.S. Under-Secretary for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland has said that the U.S. government will invest over $1 billion in Nepal over the next 5 years. Organizing a press meet at Patan Darbar Square on Monday, Under-Secretary Nuland said the U.S. would invest on green energy, electrification and businesses led by women and underrepresented communities. The Under-Secretary also said that the U.S. investment would focus on areas such as health, agriculture and tourism.
The United States plans to invest over $1 billion in Nepal over the next 5 years in everything from green energy and the electrification of this country to small and medium-sized enterprise, particularly investing in women-led businesses and those led by underrepresented groups. And to continue all of the other great work that we have historically done, including in the field of health, in the field of next generation agriculture, strengthening the tourism sector, etc.
Describing her meeting with Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal, CPN-UML Chairperson KP Sharma Oli, Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Deuba, and Foreign Affairs Minister Bimala Rai Paudel as productive. Under-Secretary Nuland said that they discussed the Millennium Challenge Corporation MCC projects, finalizing the transitional justice process and making environment conducive for bringing in the U.S. investment. Under-Secretary Nuland said that they also discussed fighting corruption and making democracy more transparent. Answering the queries of the journalist, Under-Secretary Nuland said the U.S.'s support to Nepal was aimed at bringing prosperity to the Nepali people and transparency to its democracy, and it would work in unison with Nepal's neighbors for achieving its goal. Under-Secretary Nuland also praised the cultural heritages of Nepal and said she enjoyed walking around the Patan Durbar Square.
But the best part of the day ended today when we had a chance to tour the magnificent Patan Durbar Square and to see 5 centuries of Nepali religious and cultural heritage on display here. Just spectacular history, culture, carving.
Kaushal Gimire, Radio Nepal, Kathmandu.
The government has decided to sign a memorandum of understanding relating to the establishment of a bilateral consultation mechanism between the foreign ministries of Nepal and Bahrain. Unveiling yesterday's cabinet meeting decisions in Singh Durbar, Communication Minister and government spokesperson Rekha Sharma said the government would sign MOU to establish the bilateral consultation mechanism. Likewise, the government has decided to appoint 3 members to the National Planning Commission. The members to be appointed are Sushil Gyawali, Anjan Shakya and Kushendra Sahi. You're listening to Radio Nepal 8am English News Bulletin. We continue with the international updates now. At least 59 people have been killed by a suicide bombing that apparently targeted policemen praying in a mosque in Peshawar, Pakistan. The mosque is within the tightly guarded police headquarters area. The Pakistani Taliban denied involvement after an initial claim by one of its commanders. The group ended a ceasefire in November and violence has been on the rise since. In December, it targeted a police station like Peshawar in the northwest of the country, leading to the deaths of 33 militants. A hospital spokesperson told the BBC the death toll stood at 59, while 157 people had been injured. Between 300 and 400 police officers were in the area at that time. Peshawar Police Chief Muhammad Izyas Khan told the media the mosque is in one of the most heavily controlled areas of the city, which includes police headquarters and intelligence. The UK economy will shrink and perform worse than other advanced economies as the cost of living continues to hit households, the International Monetary Fund IMF has said. The IMF said the economy will contract by 0.6% in 2023 rather than grow slightly as previously predicted. It said its new forecast reflected the UK's high energy prices and financial conditions such as high inflation. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt said the UK outperformed many forecasts last year. In its World Economic Outlook update, the IMF, which works to stabilize economic growth, said the UK's gross domestic product, GDP, would shrink rather than grow by 0.3% this year. It predicted the UK would be the only country across the world's advanced and emerging economies to suffer a year of declining GDP. Now the general weather forecast for the country for today. Forecasting division says the weather is likely to be partly to generally cloudy throughout the country. Light rain is likely to occur at a few places in Karnali province and Sudur Pashchim province and at 1 or 2 places in the Lumbini province. Kathmandu's weather report now. Maximum temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 8.3 degrees Celsius. With this news, we have come to the end of this bulletin, but before we wrap up the headlines once again. Elections for new president scheduled on 9th of March and for vice president on 17th of March. U.S. Under Secretary of State for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland pays courtesy call on Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal Prachanda and political leadership. U.S. government announces to invest over $1 billion in Nepal over the next 5 years. And bombing at a mosque in Pakistani city of Peshawar kills at least 59 people. Well, that's all that we have for this edition. Our next English news edition is at 2 in the afternoon. You can also listen to us online at our website www.radionepal.gov.np for more news and online programs. Stay tuned, stay safe and have a good day.